I'm ready. All right, y'all. Storytelling. I'm really excited about this because I have been very actively studying this. I just got back from, I'm sure most of you, if not all of you know, I just got back from Salt Lake with Andy, and we were just getting consulting of our own from the Go Together team, who have like over 800,000 followers. They're great storytellers, amazing with content. So, yeah, and it's important to get mentors have mentors, and I want to be able to deliver the best quality education that I can to you guys. So I'm always investing in my own education as well. So you guys can get top tier education here at Influential Walls. But y'all know the drill. If you guys have been here before, drop in the chat where you guys are from, and yeah, I know a lot of you guys kind of know each other already. Well, some of you know each other from the Austin summit and the retreat that we did. But yeah, drop in the chat where you guys are from. There's gonna be some of you guys, Sarah and Jenna, you guys are both in Boston. I'm trying to think of who else is in the general area close to each other. But yeah, share where you're from. I'm sure that you guys might meet some people that are in your general area. And I know some of you guys, who's got their own group chats going on? I'd love to hear um, who has been interacting with each other outside of the program. If anyone's willing to share in the chat, any little group chats. I know like Daniel and Caleb have been talking about working together. I think they're going to collab. But let's see. I know
Mm.
I know Lena, Rebecca, Sarah, and Danny, you guys all met at at Rooted. Sheila, you met Eugene. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Cool. I'm stoked that you guys are all here and connecting within the community. The community that we have online is super powerful, guys. Like there's some mentees that have been using the influential wall systems and seeing like crazy results. So it's important that you guys like actually actively network within the community. I think that it's just yeah, it's a powerful community. We got some killers in here. So, oh, Eugene, awesome. I'm glad that you're talking to Brandon. You guys are kind of in the same general direction. But cool. All right. So today we're going to be talking about branding and content because storytelling actively applies to both of those areas of our business. Going to talk a little bit about your artist statement, building loyalty, building out products that make sense for your consumers, for your followers. Then we'll go into live critiques and do some Q&A at the very end. Okay? So, one thing that most of you guys have already gone through with me is creating your artist statement and understanding what makes your artist statement actually unique. Because if we, if I had a dollar for every time someone came into any form of consulting with me, and this doesn't even apply to just the mural world, like this applies to like the fitness world. I've worked with a few fitness people and videographers too, helping them with their businesses. But if I had a dollar for every time someone said the same thing as someone else, I would probably not really have to work that much anymore. A lot of artists say that they have X style, whether it's an illustrative style or realism style, using vibrant colors to positively uplift the community, right? So remember, guys, that does not make you unique, okay? Every artist is saying the same thing. So you guys have crafted some new artist statements, and with your new artist statements that you've created with me, we've reached a lot more into the deeper mission that you have as an artist. Building niches that you're passionate about, building within niches that you're passionate about, right? And tying things more into your roots and like what brought you to where you are today. And that artist statement that we've crafted together is not one that we just crafted for emails. This is something that you guys should have like on lock, right? So every time we're introducing ourselves, we have to say, something, we have to say the same thing, right? At Influential Walls, we're a top tier collective of muralists that is passionate about eliminating the starving artist mentality. We do that through mentorship, educational resources, and working with schools across California, right? Every time I say that, I can say that to anyone, and it's very crisp, clear. It's like 2 or 3 sentences, right? And it just talks about who we are, what we're passionate about, the clients that we service, okay? And that's going to separate your artist statement from other people. And it's going to create more buy in for someone that is within your target audience, right? Your niche, okay? The more effectively we can communicate that brand, right? That meaning conciseness, just clarity, the easier it's going to be for someone to buy into our brand, to feel like they can connect with us and bond with us. And it's going to make it easier for you guys in the long run for your targeting in terms of organic social media, right? Like who we're actually speaking to behind the camera, or if we're writing in our captions, or however we're storytelling. It's going to be easier to acquire those followers because we're connecting with them more actively, and it's going to just yield more opportunities. Um, yeah. Can I get a quick yes from you guys if the audio is all good? I just see the chat's been a little quiet. Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Making sure the audio is
seems
good.
good.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, cool. So again, artist statement being unique, right? Now, when I say unique, USP is a businessy term called your unique selling proposition. Okay, so for example, um, Jenna is a great example of this. Jenna, I'm going to use you as an example. Jenna sells murals, but she also has an extensive background in clothing and uniform design. So she is. It allows her to, when she works with clients, she can talk more actively about like the branding assets behind what their crew members wear, right? And even past that, like if a brand wants to sell merchandise, right? So if a brand like a clothing brand is going to be much more incentivized to work with Jenna than to work with me because Jenna specializes in that, right? And she enjoys it, right? And she has a background in it, right? And it's part of her, it's even ingrained into her artist statement. And if that extends past the artist statement that we just email, let's say like Jenna put that in her Instagram bio and on her website, like it just drilling that in, right? So it's making her look like a very specialized, unique service that not all artists can deliver on, right? So that's why it's so important that we're clearly communicating the things that we're passionate about, the things that make us unique, and it's going to allow us to build a more impactful business in the long run because it doesn't look the same as everyone else's, right? Because now you're not really competing, quote unquote, with other people. Of course, there's always the idea of competition because someone could hire someone else, but the more unique you are, the more you can also charge, right? Because Influential Walls has really built out such a powerful ecosystem of educational products. Like we're able to charge more because I know that other artists can't deliver what we can because we've been highly focused in our niche and building out multiple products for our niche that speak to them, that solve their problems, right? Again, we're always trying to use art to solve problems, okay? So USP again is your unique selling proposition. What makes you unique? What do you care about? Who do you service? And where did you come from? Because and this question here, where are your roots? Where did you come from? Also creates a deeper level of connection with your audience, right? Because they might have come from a similar situation that you have, and your roots doesn't have to be location specific. It can be even like, for example, one thing I always talk about when I'm telling the longer version of my story is that I got fired from my job, right? So other people that have gotten fired from their job, and I talk about like trying to target like people in the skateboarding industry because I love skateboarding. Um, Actually, I think Andreas is here. Me and Andreas really connected on skateboarding because it was something that we've grown up doing for a long time. And it's a niche that he's passionate about. It's a niche that I'm passionate about. Obviously, I built my brand to not really work within that niche and much more in education. But being able to talk about your roots, like things that interest you, where you came from, and just being able to communicate that effectively as well is going to create more connections with possible clients in the future, right? Like with principals, um, I talked to a lot of principals about. I always asked them if they were like a teacher before they became a principal because my mom's a teacher, and it just creates a very easy connection for me to have, and I can empathize with them tremendously, and just create a tremendous amount of rapport when I'm on my calls, like almost immediately, right? So being able to tie that into even some of your questions on your sales calls as well to just build rapport is going to be huge. Okay. All right. And like I said, there's going to be Q&A at the end. If you have any questions on any of this stuff, happy to tackle it at the end. Okay. So is your audience loyal? Okay. This is something where I think a lot of artists have opportunities, particularly for social media. When people comment on your posts, are you actively replying to them back, or if they're messaging you or DMing you, or are you even starting DM conversations? Okay. A big reason why like a lot of people come into the mentorship program in the first place is because of how active we are on social in terms of really engaging with our audience. Um, Andy, are you on the call? And if you are, can you unmute for a second?
Yes. Yo, yo, yo.
Hey, Andy. So for those of you guys that don't know, Andrew is my brother. He helps me run basically all the marketing in Influential Walls, and well, I'm actively turning him into the CEO of the mural game, the mural side, so I can actively focus on mentorship. But Andrew focuses on a lot of our marketing. Andy, how many DMs and comments do we have to get back to, like on a weekly basis?
A lot. At least like 20 a day, at least.
Yeah, 20 a day at
Minimally.
Yeah, yeah. So thanks, Andy. You're gonna mute. I just wanted you to share your firsthand experience. So um, now you guys are probably asking, well, how do I do this as like a single artist? I already have 1,000 things to do, right? And the answer is not you have to have extensive conversations, right? But if you're posting and people are commenting on your stuff or they're DMing you, you want to reply because those relationships are going to go a long way in the future. And it's going to build a level of loyalty and buy into your brand that you just can't replicate just by posting over and over again. You have to have those conversations make someone really, really like they create just a deeper relationship with you, right? And you're probably thinking, well, it doesn't matter because those people aren't my clients, right? They're not the businesses. But you guys are thinking about it too short term if you're thinking that way, because the long term is those people should be your customers. Because if you're developing real relationships with them, when you drop the product, whether it's a print or maybe you start drop shipping and do merchandising, or maybe you do um, like I have one mentee that has done a journal. I've had another mentee that's sold like design spray cans. When you drop a product and your audience loves you, why wouldn't they want to support you? Right? We want to create a reason for someone to support us, right? And if they feel like they have a genuine connection with you, when you drop something, they're going to be just that much more likely to want to buy something and support you, right? Like I posted on my story, like if I write a book, who is anyone willing to like actually read it if I make a book, right? And got a bunch of engagement on my story saying like, yes, would love to read the book, would love to read the book, right? And I noticed most of the engagement are from people that I've connected with the most, right? Is like the people that you connect with the most, they're going to be loyal consumers to you. And this is where the idea of lifetime value becomes really important. Okay. So we have this idea of the value of a customer. Someone pays us for one mural for $5,000 or $10,000. Now, if you create a bigger reason for, say, buy-in here, right? Like an opportunity for someone to really connect with you and have a long-standing relationship with you because you regularly engage with them. This is online and offline. Okay, guys, this can also just be active relationships with mural clients that you've had. You guys might have seen some content of me talking about buying your your clients donuts. Me and Eugene have joked about this a couple times of just like getting your clients donuts, taking them out to lunch, going the extra mile to build some loyalty. You can literally increase the lifetime value of your customer like threefold just by going the extra mile of sending someone a $50 Amazon gift card at the end of the year for Christmas, right? Like we've done this with principals where I just send principals like 25 to $50 Amazon gift cards at the end of the year. And, it could add up depending on how many clients you're sending this out to. But if you think about the return, right? Like you just have one or two of those clients buy from you again because they love you so much. It's a huge return on your investment, right? And it's way easier to work with someone that we've already worked with once because they already know what we're like, right? They know, yeah, when I worked with Derek, he was super easy to talk to. He made the process simple. He didn't make me do all these extra steps, right? If you guys are following the influential walls framework of selling and just making it super easy to take next steps for your prospects and always submitting beautiful presentations for your proposals and your art in general, and then you have this like really cool community engagement. Why would they go to someone else? Why are they going to spend the time to look for a different artist to now come in and create something unless they want maybe like a big variety of art. But you know, we want to create those real relationships where people connect with us because it's really easy to work with someone again and increase, like I said, the lifetime value of your customer, not the one-time purchase. We want them to come back, purchase from us multiple times. Now you just turn a $5,000 wall into a $20,000 project for across a few years, right? Even if they don't come back for like 2 years, um, as long as they come back, like it's just easy leads, right? Easy money. And what's wrong with having good relationships with people, right? We all want friends. We want to work alone all the time. We want to enjoy working with our customers. So, again, your engagement is important. So, responding to people, starting conversations through direct messages, through emails. This can be with past clients. This could just be with your followers. But you want to create a very like cult like following. Okay, that's if you can create a cult like following, that's gold. Okay, because it doesn't matter what sort of product you drop, they'll buy it because they like you and they bought into you. Okay. So, all right. I want to call on some uh Rebecca. Okay. I want to call on some people here. Does anyone want to share what a format is? Who's gone through can I see in the chat who's started looking at the social media module and the branding module? Who's done both? Anybody? Come on. I know some of you guys have dug in there.
I have.
Sorry, who just said that?
Raven.
Raven. All right, we're calling on you, Raven. Answer any of these questions for me. The hero framework, what's the format, or what are the most important metrics on social media? I just want to see the people that are retaining. You want to answer any of these questions? Feel brave.
The Go back to my notes by well
Yeah.
the hero framework. Well, first creating the hero or the character
Yep.
uh, framework, and I believe that would be your customer.
Could be your customer, could be you, it could be anyone, right? So we have the hero, and then there's two other parts to the framework. What are the other two parts?
The other two parts is like the hero, then you have the obstacle, and
Obstacle.
you have like the solution or
Yep.
the
Beautiful. Thank you, Raven. Thank you for volunteering for volunteering as tribute. Yeah, so the hero framework, for those of you that have not watched this this is actually in the branding section. I was having a hard time figuring out if I want to put this in the branding section or the content section. But the hero framework is essentially a hero is trying to attain a goal, and there is an obstacle that exists between the hero and the goal, right? The more relatable we can make the hero, the easier it's going to be to create that immediate buy-in to the story. Okay, so whether we're telling the story on social media or we're telling the story in person, like at a public speaking engagement of who we are, you want to make the hero relatable. So this could be you, this could be the customer, depends on what sort of story you're telling, right? So hero is relatable. We're trying to get to this goal, and between the hero and the goal, there's an obstacle. Now, the more sophisticated the obstacle is, the more we can elaborate on the obstacle, right? So, and the more exciting the story can become. Because if there's a really sophisticated or just very just very extensive obstacle, the story can take all these different turns, right? And that just builds more anticipation and creates more excitement. But we want to make sure that it's still relatable, right? So I see some people use the hero framework on social media where it's so unique to them, like super unique to them, and it's not really applicable to an audience to where it's not going to perform the same because someone can't relate to what's going on, right? Like if you talk too much about a super unique scenario that no one else is really likely to experience or a very small percentage of the population is going to experience, then it's going to be harder for someone to really buy into the hero framework, right? So we want to create this relatability in our story, but still make the hero, relatable. Vulnerability is really big here. Creating a hero with flaws. When you guys think of superheroes, if you guys have already watched the video, you're kind of hearing me say this again. But when we think of superheroes, even the superheroes have flaws, right? Superheroes have flaws, but it makes it exciting to watch the superhero kind of like go through this journey, and we watch them in their lowest points, right? That's why vulnerability is very powerful when we're telling stories, right? And talking about our flaws. Can anyone tell me what a format is? Is anyone willing to unmute and talk about format?
I got it. This is Sarah. Um,
Let's go.
I've been, hey, I've been working on formats a lot lately. So format is like the specific way or I guess like aesthetic of the video. So it's like, what are the shots that are happening? Is it a carousel? Is it a reel? Is it a post? And trying out the same thing with different content.
Yes, exactly. So the format is one, the media type that you upload. So it can be the carousel, the video, or the photo. And then within that sort of post, we want to create something. So for example, like a podcast can be uploaded as audio or video, but it is a format. It is where one person talks to another person and there's dialogue. So that's a format. Okay. Another format is that we use at Influential Walls is the read caption format. Okay, I'm sure you guys have all seen this where I post, I say, whatever, 3 ways to find more mural clients, read caption. Okay, that's another type of format. Another format could be one that I'm actively using is cinematic storytelling, right? So I'm trying to get better at my cinematic stuff, and I'm talking, right? I'm speaking to the camera. Now, when you use too many formats, okay, if you're trying all these different things, I'm going to try cinematic storytelling, and then I'm going to do a read caption, and then I'm going to do a podcast, and then I'm going to do like a process video. And then if you use too many formats, it's going to be hard for you to figure out what's working well, because just like emails, if you guys have been through the email marketing section or have done consulting with me on the email marketing, we want to be able to do something called A/B testing. Okay, so A/B testing is when we make small changes to see what works. Okay, so for example, in the read caption style of format that I do, right? We always use slow panning shots. We have the text appear the same exact way. And if I'm always using similar shots and having the text appear the same way, I can now run tests. So I can test if I do a topic on marketing versus a topic on client red flags, and I post client red flags 3 times and marketing 3 times, I can slowly start coming to a conclusion of which topic is going to perform better because I'm using the same exact format when I post. Now, another thing I could do is I could just post the same format and I could just test different music types. What if I test rap versus EDM music, right? And I'm just posting in the same format. There's still the read caption style, right? And I keep posting like that. And then I can draw conclusions because I'm like, I've posted the read caption format 40 times and of the 40 times that I posted, like let's say 65 to 70% of them that have high performance use rap music. So now I can make I can make a more data driven conclusion that the when I use rap with the read caption format, I'm going to have decent performance, right? And then I could even test when I'm doing. So now I have that, right? I'm going to keep posting rap with the read caption format. Now, instead of slow shots, I'm going to do flashing shots, like super fast paced shots. Which one's going to work better? The slow shots or the fast paced shots? Let me post 10 times of each and see which one performs better. So again, we're making small changes within a single format to figure out if we're actually getting better performance with certain hypotheses. But if I keep posting, read caption, podcast, cinematic storytelling, whatever, like carousel tips, and I was doing this for a little while, but it's harder for me to draw the conclusions, right? Does this make sense? Can I get a yes in the chat if this makes sense? All right, good, good, good. So, formats, hero framework, right? There are other frameworks you can use. I do think that the hero framework is a really superior one from other frameworks that I've studied. But there are other frameworks, and I'll probably make some videos in the future on other frameworks. But that is one that I see works well almost like every time if you do it right. Okay. Anyone want to talk about the most important metrics on social media? You can either drop it in the chat or unmute.
Yeah, I could do that.
Let's do it.
Most important would be saves and view time across
Yes.
the video.
Let's go. Eugene retaining. Let's go. I'm glad. That was what our last session was on. So we want to create opportunities for people to save our video, right? And to watch it. So watch time is king. Okay. Watch time is the most important metric. So if people are watching the video, all the social media algorithms are competing with each other, right? TikTok's competing with Instagram's, competing with Snapchat's, competing with whatever, YouTube. Everyone wants you to stay on their platform. They don't want you going to their competitors, right? So if you guys haven't watched the video, the algorithm doesn't hate you. In our video library, that's a really good video. I kind of go into talking about what the algorithm is going to reward, one of them being watch time, right? So saves is really big because it's signaling to the algorithm that you're going to come back to your video or to your post or whatever it is. So saves are important. So are shares, right? Because if you share, then it's signaling to the algorithm, okay, someone else is going to probably watch this video because it's being sent in a DM. So those are really important metrics, right? So we want to create content that is shareable, that is savable. And what's going to help us do that is by leaning more into strong stories that have applicable lessons, right? So some of you guys have probably heard me talk about this too. It's merging the worlds of education and entertainment together, right? So it's edutainment. So that you guys see me do this a lot with the cinematic storytelling. That's the whole point. Is I'm trying to create enough visual buy-in to where it's entertaining, but I'm also trying to create something that's an actionable step that someone could take the second they watch that video, so they can either save it or send it to someone, or it's just so emotional. And some people are better at this than I am. I've seen I don't think Trudy's here, but Trudy had a post making a painting for her mom that I just felt was like super emotional, and like it was really easy to share, right? Because you can just share that on your story where you're like, wow, what a beautiful story that this person just told. Okay. So yes, 50 points to Eugene. Okay. So product ecosystems. Okay. This is really big for building your following. When you build a following that is niche specific, okay, that care about a certain niche or a mission. Now, if you could tie the mission to the niche, even more powerful, right? Because if you can tie the mission to a niche, you can launch products that are consistent with your mission and the niche. Okay, you can launch new products. So if you have a bunch of followers, like for example, we're an educational agency. So that's why I can drop educational products and I know they're going to sell because we have a lot of buy-in from our following and from schools. So like I could even drop things for schools. I can email a bunch of schools and tell them we're designing backpacks if I wanted to. Now, do I want to do that? No, because designing backpacks sounds like a nightmare. And also, I think the supply chain of finding the manufacturer, delivering them would be a mess. And it probably wouldn't be super profitable. Maybe, but in terms of time and where we're at in business, probably not. But I could integrate that into our product ecosystem if I could make it easy to make backpacks, right? Because I've already captured all these schools. I have all their emails. I've worked with a bunch of them and like they all love us, right? So it'd be easy for me to drop that product that fits within the ecosystem. In the context of mentorship, it makes it easy for me to drop a book, right? Because it's like an easy product. If people are already here investing in mentorship and investing in their education, then I can create, you know, a book, or maybe I want to create a guide, right? So if I apply this to one of your businesses, Sarah, I'm going to use you as my guinea pig now, Sarah Egan. You're working with you want to work with more libraries, right? So there's a lot of opportunity for us to create other products for libraries if you're really leaning into those, right? And you're capturing them, and it's something that you are really like you're just really connected to them already because of your background. So we can we can create product ecosystems if we're actually operating within a niche and actually operating within a mission that's tied to the niche, right? Is we can always create products that follow that. Now, if you're constantly hopping between niches, it's going to be harder for you to drop a product. If you have a big following, because I know some of you guys in the program actually have already built a big following, and as far as just your personal branding, then that makes it easy to drop maybe something like an autobiographical book, or maybe a coffee table book, right? Like I'm talking to, I don't know if she's here today. I am talking to, oh yeah, Candace, yeah. We're talking about doing, I'm talking to one of the mentees in the program about doing a coffee table book because her art is like just gorgeous. She's got a big following. I'm like, this is something that would be easy selling point to the following, particularly if you've been good at building your email list. So you can build your email list by basically incentivizing people if they come to your website to sign up, and you'll get a discount on future items or whatever it is, or giving them something free. So we call a lead magnet. Okay, if you give someone something for free in exchange for their email, you can start building out an email list. When you build out an email list, you can now market to them, and you can talk about the new products that you've launched. If you have a strong personal brand where maybe you're not even operating in niche, but people just love you, then dropping things about you, like, you know, an autobiographical story, or like a coffee table book, or even like a toy that maybe is close to heart and would resonate with your audience, is going to be an easier drop for you. Okay. So product ecosystems based on the following that you're actively building. Now, one thing I want to talk about when you're talking about launching new products is shiny object syndrome. Anyone want to chime in about what that is? Does anyone know what shiny object syndrome is? Just drop it in the chat, or you can unmute. Either way.
I've had my fair share of shiny object syndrome. I am.
All right. Calling on Eugene again. What's shiny object syndrome?
Shiny object syndrome is where, it might be a viable option and it does sound like a good idea, but does it ultimately hurt your target market, your main goal, your main niche, and your highest ticket items?
Right. So shiny object syndrome is getting distracted by something that might sound like a good idea, but holds the business back from growing, right? Because you're putting too much emphasis on a product that is going to take you a long time to build out, or doesn't have the margins that, say, a mural does, or a graphic design package does, or a branding package, or a consulting package, depending on kind of what you're doing and what your artist statement is, right? All the things I just mentioned, branding, consulting, murals, or graphic design packages, we could sell those for thousands of dollars and the profit is pretty high. Now, like I said, the reason why I don't want to sell backpacks is, one, because it would take me a long time to set up all the infrastructure to sell backpacks. And if I was taking time away to set up the backpacks, then that means I'm not putting time into growing the mural and the mentorship side of my business, right? Which is these are my money makers, right? These are my cash cows. these help me pay the bills. And my bills are pretty extensive because I have a team that I got to manage. I have a bunch of insurance costs, right? The bigger the business grows, the more expenses you have, particularly if you want to keep growing it, because you get more aggressive with how you spend your money and taking bigger risks. So if I take time away from the mural and the mentorship side to make backpacks, I'm not only losing money, but I'm losing a tremendous amount of time. And then I also want to think about the reward. So if I build out that product, if I'm building out backpacks, let's say I sell them for 50 bucks, 40 bucks, and it costs me $20 to make them. Okay. So say I sell it for 40, cost me $20 to make them, it means I have a $20 profit. How many backpacks do I need to sell to make the same 10,000 that I would in a mural? A lot of backpacks. So, and now I have to learn a new marketing mechanism to really sell those backpacks. Of course, I could reach out to my previous customers and try to sell them, but there's no guarantee how much sales you're going to make versus selling one high ticket product for 10 G's. Okay. So you want to keep that in mind when you're launching new products. If you try to do too many things at once, one, you're going to feel burnout. Two, you're not going to see the best results. And three, you just want to pay attention to where the opportunity cost is coming when we're talking about doing things like where to allocate your time that is going to grow your business more effectively. Okay. So, are we following? Do we have any questions there? You guys, I'll let you guys ask questions before we go into the live content audits. If you guys have any questions on product ecosystems, because I haven't filmed a video on that quite yet, and I'm planning on filming a more extensive video on product ecosystems. So does anyone have any quick questions there?
I did have one question because I'm also heavily involved in education. And
Yes.
at what point is it okay for me to drop something that's educational as a product? Whether it's video or resources versus me just really trying to maintain myself in schools or do the murals.
So one, it depends on if you're talking high ticket or low ticket, right? If it's a high ticket item and it's something that you can make relatively quickly, like we just did you just sold a consulting package, right? Like something like that, and being more focused in consulting packages where you're like, okay, I'm about to make 5 G's in a single day. If you're gonna make 5 G's in a single day through the right consulting packages, I'm gonna tell you all day, like, pay a couple murals a year and sell some of those, because 5 G's in a day is crazy. Like, that's amazing. You're just gonna go somewhere, speak for a day and get 5,000, and that's the end of it. Like, that's the end of the engagement. Like, that makes sense, right? Now, if you're talking about a low ticket product, I usually tell artists you start selling more low ticket products like once you hit around 250K to 300K. If we're talking specifically in the context of muralists, because as a muralist, once you're getting to 250 to 300K, your back is most likely breaking because you're painting a lot to hit 250K to 300K. Unless you just have this crazy like real estate developer client that has this giant building, and you get one of those like big fish randomly, and you paint that for the year and you make 300K, which is possible, guys. I've met artists that have made like 300 to 500K in huge walls. But there's not all, most artists don't have a system to continually close those. But not to say that you can't make it, but those are usually the top dogs. If you are hitting 250 to 300K, it means you're doing a tremendous amount of volume in murals to hit that amount. Unless you're like your average order value is really high, but that's usually a good time to start diversifying, because now you're like, okay, if you have a system to regularly hit say 200K, then you can start dropping other products that are a little bit more low ticket, accessible, and focus a little bit more on volume and building out like your following. But yeah, so I hope does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah. So it's going to depend a little bit on the product, but yeah, if it is a high ticket product and you're already seeing viability for it, I don't think there's anything that necessarily needs to hold you back. Yeah, and congrats on the big consulting deal. I'm like, if you sell more of those, make a lot of money per day. That's amazing. Okay, guys, so let's switch over. All right, we're gonna do content audits. So first, before we go into the content audits, I want to make sure I'm going to pull up one of my videos and make sure that the audio plays for both ends. It usually does on Zoom, but I guess I haven't done this for a long time on I haven't done this in a group call yet. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Can I please get a yes in the chat if you guys can hear the audio when this is playing? You
Is
guys hear
it
that?
playing? I can't hear anything.
Okay, audio is not playing. Dokies. All right, so we're gonna do that then. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me see if I can configure this just really quick. If I can't, then we might have to do audit content, or we might have to do content audits with no audio. And I've already taken notes on everything. So let's see. Yeah, let me see if I can do that here. Audio settings. Hmm. All right, we might not be able to share the audio. Sorry, guys, that's annoying. Jenna, where do you find that? Do you mind unmuting and seeing where you letting me know where you'd see that? Sorry, guys.
I don't think I can see it, but in your settings, there should be like on the toolbar where you're sharing your screen, you should also be able to share your sound.
I don't see that here.
Hey, Derek, it says while sharing your screen, click the share screen button and then select the checkbox labeled share computer sound in the bottom left corner.
Bottom left corner.
Yeah, that one.
Okay. Is it? All right, I'm gonna try this for the next 30 seconds. I don't see it here. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Okay, it's all good. I'm gonna go through the content audits, guys, because you guys know what your content looks like. Okay, so this is gonna be specific to you guys as far as the audio goes. So I'm gonna do some.
I just heard that.
I heard that as well.
Okay, so you guys can hear this.
Yeah.
Okay, great, perfect, easy. Okay, so I'm going in order of who sent me things first. Andreas, that means you. Okay, so Andreas sent me this piece of content, and again, we're gonna kind of go speed rounds here, okay? Because I have a lot of content to look through.
Yep, that's me right there, standing in front of hundreds of people, getting ready to vend at my very first music festival and start my first business venture. I had a vending spot booked for a whole week at this music festival called Big Dub. I brought along some of my best friends and hundreds of t-shirts that we've been slaving away, making original designs on for the past couple weeks. And the best part is, we only sold one shirt the whole time, and the only reason the lady bought it is to use it as a sweat rag. We were completely unprepared. Our tent was broken from the beginning, the roof was collapsing in. We had no real signage to promote ourselves. Not to mention, halfway through the week, a torrential downpour hit and our whole tent flooded and there was mud everywhere. It was a complete mess and an epic failure. And it's failures like these that you can either let them knock you down or you can decide to learn from them and grow from them. And as much as it sucked at the time, I kept pushing forward and tried to learn from every mistake I made. Yep, that's me right there.
All right, so a couple great things about this, Andreas. One, I love the way that you're like showing, like I can tell that you put time into this edit. And I like the beginning because the hook at the beginning kind of leaves this room for anticipation for what you're about to talk about. And yeah, you look just very like fun and approachable in this picture too. I also like the pacing of the video a lot. You're using the hero framework, which is great. And I like your tone. It feels very authentic. It feels very real. It doesn't feel forced. I can tell that you probably spent a decent amount of time talking to the camera and getting used to talking to the camera, which is great. And it's something that obviously just comes with time, guys. So if you're not used to talking to the camera, you just get better and better at it. But one way that I've seen some people do this is they just will walk and talk and leave audio messages like to themselves and just play it back and listen to kind of figure out like where there's some opportunities where things feel forced and whatnot. So I love all that. Now I'm gonna
Right there,
pause.
standing in front of hundreds of people.
I'm gonna pause the video right here. Okay. So as far as lighting goes, and this is something that's a good note for everyone. So there's ways that you can create cinematic lighting where images won't look as flat. So here, this looks a little more 2D, and I don't have as much there's ways where we can cast more shadows on your face. So right now, this is looking like the light is coming at you directly. Okay, it's looking like the light is set up right in front of your face. If you set that light, whatever light you're using to speak, at a different angle, and you guys can actually buy some pretty cheap lights, whether it's ring lights or I invest a lot into my equipment, but I have a GVM light. It cost me like $200, but it comes with like a tripod and it's a big soft box. If you have your lighting at a slight angle, it's going to cast more shadows onto your face, which is going to make it look more cinematic. I like that you kind of have some ambient lighting in the back as well. So I'd say if your lighting was a little less harsh and a little more angled, it's going to look a little more cinematic. One other thing that I've noticed in this video is your eye line changes a little bit. So one thing to note when you're doing spoken content and you're showing your face is you want your eyes to be placed at the same level in different clips. So when you're changing your, say you're speaking once and then you cut to a different clip and then you're speaking again, or you just keep speaking, you don't want your eye line constantly changing, going lower and higher, lower and higher. It makes it feels scattered to the viewer, and we always want to make a viewer feel at ease, because if the viewer feels scattered, or like there's too many things to look at, the likelihood of them swiping to the next video is really high. So your eye line, I think it stays pretty consistent, but I noticed in certain parts it changes. So your eye line and your lighting, I think, are some areas for opportunity. And I think also creating more relatability almost at the beginning of the video would be good, because you're like, yep, that's me. I'm about to start vending at my first event. Like there might have been an opportunity there for you to create a little bit more relatability. And these are just really minute things that I'm nitpicking at, right? But like, yep, that's me right there. And if you've ever done something for the first time, you understand how scary it can be. This was my first time doing this, right? But instead of making everything about me, you can talk to the audience a little bit more using you statements at the beginning, right? So you can talk about you, but then also relate it to the audience. So the audience feels a little bit more tied into your story. And then at the end, you can talk about, like, I know that the point here is to keep moving forward. Obviously, as my comment says, but then we could like talk a little bit more actively to the audience at the end too. Okay, so there's content audit 1. We're going to go to Laura. Okay, Laura, and we were at the lettering 1. All right.
I used to make these custom
Confirming audio is good. Can I get a yes in the chat?
letters years ago. I had a friend that I used to teach with who acquired one for her firstborn and never got one for the next child. She recently reached out to me, and here I am digging these out so that I can create one for her. And I'm so happy to send one to her. It's been a long time since I've seen her. So I hope this gets in the mail and gets sent off to find her well.
All right. So, a couple things I really like about this, Laura. Your pacing is great. So the not just your pacing with like when the shots change, but also with the music. The music is a little bit more like slow and calming. And when I say pacing, I'm even talking about just like your strokes. It's very easy to watch. It's very pleasant to the eye. And I like just the shots that you got in general. Shots are really clean. there's something that I think there's a couple things that I want to point out here for opportunities. One, I think the audio volume could be turned down a little bit. So whenever I do spoken content, if I'm changing, say, the volume of the original video versus the music audio I bring down to a one or a two, and the audio I bring up to a 100 because it's easy. It's pretty easy for me to make out hear what you're saying, but you are a little soft spoken, and the audio is I could tell is not set at a one or a two. It's probably set somewhere in the 10 to maybe 50 range. So we want to make sure that if we're doing spoken audio, that our voice is just really crisp and clear. So I would say that's an area of opportunity for the audio. Now, as far as the hero framework here, I love that you're using the hero framework, that you're telling a story. But this kind of goes back to the point that I made earlier, which is if the situation is too unique to you, it's going to feel a little bit harder for the audience to relate to you, right? Because this is a very, very unique situation. And I think if we were able to tie it into like a more active, I could tell, like we're talking about a parent buying this for their kids, right? So what if we could lean more into that story of like the parents and their kids and their relationship with their kids and maybe expand on that more. So that way when you play this, people that have kids will latch onto it a little more, but like more focusing on that general story than like this hyper specific story about you and your friend with the kids. Just because in that sense, it just makes it really specific to you, right? So opening up a little bit more area for relatability here, I think is an opportunity. Some parts of the audio I think could be good. And one other thing I'll point out, and again, guys, I'm just going to be extra nitpicky on all this stuff because I want you guys to just retain. Okay, it's all constructive criticism, and it's something that a lot of you guys can learn from because I see similar mistakes on different videos. Right here, when you're filming, I could see the shadow of your iPhone. So you want to make sure that when you're taking shots with lighting that you're not standing in the shadow. If you can get a little more creative with that, you can barely see it here, but at the beginning of the shot, I took note of that is like I could see exactly where the shadow of you recording is. And it takes away from a little bit more of the professional look, which on Instagram like kind of matters. Not always, but I do think that it just goes a long way to just not have that shadow in there. It's just going to make it look a little bit more elevated. So, like I said, I think the biggest area of opportunity here is just the relatability to the audience and like making that obstacle and even the hero more relevant to someone. Like, and I think that like here it's about parenting, right? So I think that would be something that we can kind of focus on here. I'm gonna go to Edgar's. Yeah, of course, Laura. You're welcome. Okay, so Edgar sent me this post, which is a carousel post, which is fun because I think everyone else sent me a video. So, carousel post, it's not really, it's a little blurry. Okay, these images are not as blurry as it's showing up on my screen. On my iPhone, it looks a lot crisper. I don't know if it's my loading speed, which it shouldn't be, but these are a lot crisper. And that was actually one thing that I took note of is that these photos are really nice. Whatever camera set up on has a decent depth of field, and the light coming in, the aperture. So for you guys that are like professional cameras and whatnot, aperture is the setting that lets a certain amount of light in. So it basically controls how much light is pouring in, and it like closes the eye of the lens or opens it more. So I think the aperture here, the aperture settings are pretty good. There's some images that are a little more flat, but I do like the quality, and I could see because you're taking things at angles, it gives it more depth of field, which is nice. I love that this also highlights the idea of community because I think artists just love the idea of community. And I like just this. I like this fun little like dog zoomy that you did at the end. It just makes me laugh and makes it just that much more easier to like watch and enjoy. Um, one area of opportunity here, I think, is using the hero framework, maybe talking a little bit more about the story behind the mural. Um, and maybe like the what these people who these people are and what they mean to you, like, and because that again creates just more community buy-in. But I think that like sharing more actively a story, whether it's theirs or yours, is an area of opportunity here. Another thing that I would say is like you could do that either in the caption or you could even do it on screen. This is something that I see a lot of people doing now, and I've started doing this too, is when I post a carousel post, I use text with the post, like within the post. Now, obviously, if you're sharing a finished piece of art, maybe you don't want to take away from the art. But because this is a process carousel post, I think there's a lot of opportunity where you can actually utilize the space with to tell a cooler story. Um, so just something here where I think it could have gone a long way if you kind of added some text in there. Um, and yeah, and I think that also if you shared the finished product because you guys did finish this mural, um, might be a cool opportunity too, just for that added engagement for the people that are less bought into the story and just want to see the finished product to just say, wow, the mural turned out awesome, right? Because if you have the finished product, stuff about the community, maybe the hero framework in there, like if you had maybe some actionable tips of how to prep a wall or something like that here, or even lesson on color theory or whatever it is, or just some history about the area, whatever story you want to tell. I think if you told a story here and then use the captions to talk about how grateful you are for these people and like a little bit more about their story and had the finished product, you're giving so many reasons why someone could engage with the post, right? You're kind of like repurposing the post in terms of just all sorts of ways that are going to incentivize more engagement and push it out to more people. So that's what I would say there. And then, Jen, I see your question. I'm going to get to it after we do the fast firing. Okay, get me out of here. Where's the little X? There you are. Okay. All right. Raven, you changed your handle. Okay, Raven sent me time-lapse videos. I'm going to choose the mural one. Okay. So, the audio's cutting out again. Let's put that. I don't know why. So, um, must stop and reshare because that seemed to work last time. Don't know if that's going to work this time. Audio good or audio not good? Can you guys hear?
Yeah, I can't hear anything.
Man, what is with that? I'm just so annoying. Okay, well, Raven's playing like a kind of like upbeat sort of music over this time lapse, which is actually something that I thought was nice because it's a little bit the music is upbeat. It kind of matches with these colors that are very like bright and vibrant, and the pacing of the music kind of matches like the speed in which we're moving here at the in the time lapse. Another thing that I like here, Raven, is actually and this one's like a little more uh, very, very specific to this video is you are matching the mural with the colors that you're wearing. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I will say that that goes a long way. Like when I'm thinking about content, it sounds really lame, but I am thinking about what I'm pulling up to site wearing. Like if I'm about to go shoot on site, I am thinking about like, does the outfit I'm wearing, if I'm thinking about the outfit I'm wearing with the mural and I'm thinking about the color wheel, is this going to be a pleasing shot to the eye? Right? Like I just got back from Salt Lake. We rented a we rented a red Porsche, and I was like, we're renting a red Porsche. I'm pulling up in red and black because the car is red and black. I'm like, this photo is going to turn out epic, right? And if we're talking about like pulling up to site for a mural. I know the mural is really bright. I know I'm going to wear my paint fit that is just covered, is all black. My paint fit's like usually all black. I have my puffer jacket. It's covered in paint, but I know that I am not going to like blend in with the mural. I want to stand out from the mural. It's going to create more depth, right? Now you could match the mural in certain cases like this. I think is like your outfit coordination is really cool. I like the colors and I like the upbeat. I think the opportunities for this is creating a little bit more variety in your shots. So I've talked about this a couple times with time lapses. I'm not the biggest fan of time lapses because the predictability is there. Like I kind of see what's happening already. So like when you see it, it's like more, it just takes away some of the anticipation because if you had different angles where it's kind of like leaving like what is this person painting, then I almost am going to be more incentivized to stick around longer because I want to see the finished product versus here I can kind of see a lot of what's going to happen, so it takes away a level of anticipation. It doesn't mean I'm not going to watch the video, but a time lapse is a very it's not a they're usually not super dynamic. Now, if you're doing a hyperlapse, if any of you guys know what a hyperlapse is, a hyperlapse is when you're taking a bunch of photos and it like all streams into like a fluid video. So for example, oh, so for example, like if you're taking a bunch of photos and moving in closer to someone and then pulling out from them, and then the mural's like finished. Now, this is a very technical way to shoot content. Like it's not necessarily the simplest, but essentially how you would do a hyperlapse if you want to do one, just because I'm already talking about it, is you need to set up the grid lines in your camera and keep the subject matter in the same place as you continually take photos. Then you can just drop them all into CapCut or DaVinci or Premiere, whatever you're editing in. Um, Drop all the photos in and then you cut them super short and then it makes it look like this really cool effect that's just like rapid fire of images. So yeah, time lapses, and maybe I have a biased opinion on this, but I usually don't see time lapses performing that well. Like most artists that post time lapses, unless you're doing some crazy hyper realism thing, which I know some of you guys can do, they usually don't have the same performance as like just more dynamic process videos. Um, and then one other thing I would say here is using more of the hero framework, whether, like I said, it's in the caption or whatever, but like really telling a deeper story just to give more people opportunities to buy in to the content. And then let's see. I'm gonna pull up Sarah's. And
Just,
Sarah, oh,
just really quick. Yeah, that was not intentional at all. I didn't realize what I had on until after I posted the video. I'm like, oh wow, I'm really matching the wall here.
yeah, yeah. That I think that yeah, I like that because it gave me an opportunity to talk about that because I don't even think I would have otherwise thought about it. But yeah, coordinating your fit with a video goes a long way, right? It's all like you guys want to think of it as like whenever you make a piece of content, you want to think of it like you would think of your art, right? It's still composition. It's a video piece, right? It's literally like a piece of art in and of itself, especially when we're talking in the context of Instagram. Like we're telling a story and we want to make sure that the visual storytelling of it is strong, right? And that we have just like these opportunities for for just more and more buy-in and also just showing that we have a good eye for color and composition in general. So okay, and I'm assuming I'm gonna play the audio for a couple of seconds. I'm assuming we're probably not gonna be able to hear this one.
I'm excited to shift my business name from
Yes, no, we can't hear. Okay, while Instagram is just being playing favorites here, I don't know what's going on. Okay.
my name to something else because although I've been creating under my own name for many years, I felt for a long time that my business actually needed something more that captures more of the essence of my work, the depth of my creative vision, and the direction I want to expand in the future. The name should reflect not just what I do, but why I'm doing it. So this name has to hold the overall aesthetic, energy, and the deeper meaning behind the stuff that I'm creating. So as I thought about it, I just keep coming back to this name that I first thought about 10 years ago. I've been holding on to it, trying to find the right space for it. And I think this is exactly where it belongs because the business is evolving, I'm evolving. There are so many layers of meaning, of connection, of creative expansion, and I can't wait to share it with you so, so soon. I am so excited.
Amazing. Okay, so Sarah, I love that you're running the A/B test that we talked about. So, in our last meeting, we talked about testing the way that she does her hook, whether she's actually speaking it or she just points to it and the text appears, which we had a couple hypotheses and it looks like they're playing out correctly. So, because I see the engagement on this was pretty solid, and I think I looked at the views too, and it was above average for you, which is fantastic. That's the goal, right? Is to continually improve in our format. So Sarah had already used this format before, where she had pointed at the text, and that was her hook. And then she starts going into showing some of her projects and speaking over it. Tonality here is great. Pacing is great. Love that you're running the A/B test and we're seeing um, positive results. Positive results to um, seeing positive results within the A/B test. One other thing that I love about this is it's not just she's not just telling the story through her spoken word, but she's telling the story through actually the visuals, right? The visual storytelling. We kind of have some different angle changes. We're seeing a little bit of the process. There's a lot of reasons why this it makes it easy to watch the full video because there's multiple things happening in the video, and we're kind of expanding on this new idea of you starting this new venture. I honestly think that there's so many good things to this that, and we saw a pretty solid amount of views here, and the engagement is great. Also, 200 likes, bunch of comments. That I think that this you should just continue to roll with this because again, guys, like I said, the if we see something working, just rinse and repeat, right? And then make smaller tests to see how to make it better and better and better. Because if something works, no need to reinvent the wheel, right? Now, of course, there could be a point to where it feels almost redundant and boring to you. Like for me, the read caption strategy that I do, it gets old because I'm like constantly doing it, constantly writing, and honestly, like a lot of the ideas are the same ideas because I don't always go super deep into certain ideas, and in mentorship, I like to go really deep within one-on-ones or group calls like this. So on Instagram, I kind of use a lot of the stuff that I use in our lead magnet. So there are times where I'm feeling like, I feel like I do this format all the time. It gets the performance, but I don't always want to do it this way. And that's just maybe me because I want to be really creative in my content. Some people like having the format where it's like, I don't have to think about it. I'm just going to do this because this works and it works every time. And my account's slowly growing through this format and just make it better and better. But like I still use the format that works well, but I still am building out this new cinematic storytelling because I enjoy it. Like just because I enjoy being creative with my cinematography, but I still use the other one, the read caption format, to continually grow my account because I know it works pretty well. So what I would say with this is like honestly keep repeating this format, and we just want to keep making it better and better. Like I think at the beginning, I like also that we're kind of like in your studio. Um, yeah, one thing I would say here is probably something similar to like on Andreas, which is like the lighting and maybe making it more cinematic if you wanted it to. But there are some times where we don't have to make things cinematic because some people want their stuff to look much more approachable, which I know Sarah we kind of talked about too, is understanding that not everything has to look super refined because like this is an easy format to shoot within with your iPhone. So like and that's great, right? Because for me, I can like shooting with my iPhone, I can do it, but I want to shoot with my nice cameras, but it also takes me a tremendous amount more time. So keeping in mind too when you're setting up a format and like testing within a format, because you can really use any format you want and just continue to improve it, is understanding too like how easy it's going to be for you to continue to replicate this, or if it's going to be like if you have to edit something for 7 hours and ask yourself like, okay, am I going to continue to keep this up? So just some things to keep in mind here. Um, yeah, I like the placement of where you place the text too. Just understanding how the Instagram box is going to work on Reels. Yeah, there's some portions of this where it might be a little large if you were on camera. Like there might be the like and comment button right here. So maybe just keeping that in mind and just shrink that slightly. Let's go into let's do Eugene. Let's do you next. Eugene, you had great you had a really good you had strong engagement on yours too. So many DMs. Okay. This one, right? Is this the one that we chose? It was this one or is this one in the MLK one, right? That you sent me? Is that right?
Let's do Beyonce, MLK, and that one, whichever you want to go in on.
Let's see. Yeah, this one is, I mean, this one's really good. You got super solid engagement here. I think the reason why you have something unique about your brand, and this is like something that applies great today, as I've been talking about it, is you have created a tremendous amount of buy-in. You have really strong relationships with your clients, with the community. So I feel like just when you post something like this, that's more specific. I like that you actually added the the text like this to kind of bring it in. Oh, another thing that I think is important to mention since you're here and you have this little like peace sign over your face, guys, when you show your face in your content, like it almost always performs better. A lot of people have tracked like showing a human face versus not showing a human face in content. Showing a human face goes a long way. It just creates a tremendous amount of more of a real relationship that you're going to have with the content because you feel like you have a person in here. But yeah, Eugene, one thing that's I've always talked to you about is you're just very much a people person. That a lot of people, a lot of people just connect with you, and you're super outspoken about your mission, which is something that I think a lot of artists in the room can learn from. Is just being really, really outspoken, recycling and repeating your mission over and over and over. Like we do this at Influential Wealth all the time, right? I'm constantly repeating the mission and like it just creates this tremendous amount of this buy-in of this engagement and yeah, I just think that the that's something that I see when I look at your this piece of content is like the community is really buying in. um I think that let's see. I like this because I can tell that you use the wide lens and how you splice this up. So, ways that you guys can do this if you guys haven't done this before, where you have like a mural that you see the whole thing as you swipe through, is you could probably do this in Procreate too. I know you can do it in Photoshop and Illustrator, but you can go in, take a photo, and you'll just splice it. So you use the splice tool, and it will evenly cut the piece. So that way you can set up three photos next to each other that you can swipe through. Um, I also love this because it's just very like warm and shows your personality and just creates a more like something for someone to laugh at and to yeah, it just feels like a very warm post. And you're showcasing your signature character, which is great for the branding too. Um, yeah, because I mean, honestly, I'd say that like the photo could be higher quality if you shot on a nicer camera. I don't know if maybe Instagram just compressed it. So Instagram, another note for you guys is Instagram will compress files. You want to reduce your file size to be under what is it, 30 megabytes, I think it is. Look it up on ChatGPT. Don't quote me on that. Sorry, I don't want to say the wrong information. But if your all I know is that if your file is under a certain amount of megabytes or gigabytes, that it will not compress the photo. Because if you upload something super high quality to Instagram and it compresses it, you lose a lot of that quality, and then it just doesn't look the same. That's the only thing that I would say so far here. Yeah, you could use the hero framework here. I think you could have told again a deeper story right here to create even more engagement. Because, but yeah, this post went off. So solid post and great job just communicating your brand and communicating your mission, because that's what this engagement is showing me, is just from how much you've communicated your brand and mission. Like right here, right? Love the work you've been doing, right? I think that these people, you probably have long-standing relationships with them. But yeah, if you use the hero framework here and had some files that wouldn't compress too much, I think there'd be even just opportunities for you to get even more engagement. But great job connecting with the community and going deep here. Um, okay. Let's see, how are we doing on time? 2:20 here. All right. All right. Okay. So, um, Lena, some things that I really like about this video is that you show the community. I like how easy the shots are to look at. So it's very pleasing to the eye, like watching your brush strokes and the pace in which you're painting. Like it looks just very clean and easy. It's not like super fast and messy. I know some people, they'll play their painting process on 2 times speed, and it kind of creates less just less of like a easy, just ease to watch the video. Um, let's see. Okay, there's no sound. Okay, well, she wasn't speaking in it. It was just kind of like a slower paced, soft music that was playing over the video. So some areas of opportunity here, I think, are making cuts sooner. I think that some of the parts, the pacing of this video, the pacing of the brushstrokes is nice, but the pacing of the clip cuts is kind of extended out. And it's like I kind of already get the gist of what's happening as you're painting, so you don't have to like continue to like show that. Making the cut sooner, particularly to the part where the community's painting, I think is also awesome because it might create opportunity for someone to be like, oh, like anyone could do this. I want to learn how to do this. I want to be part of this. So just something to think about in terms of pacing of your shots is the algorithm rewards watch time, but the watch time could also factor into just how many replays you get, right? It doesn't have to be, we don't want to make a longer video just to have uh, hoping that that's going to lead to more watch time, because that's not always the case. I think if you had some cuts that were a little bit quicker here, that would go a long way. Let me see. Here's another process reel. This evening will be the finished touches, but it's kind of better. It's sweet. During summer, I love how active summer. So the caption is great because you are telling a story. I think that the issue here is there's not really an obstacle. Um, I kind of see that it's bittersweet here as I haven't been in Bosnia. So maybe if we were expanding on the obstacle a little more, but I think that like if you're expanding on this obstacle a little more of how you haven't been in Bosnia, and also just creating more of like a little more vulnerability as to why that's so important to you, and if you could be vulnerable and then create application to the general audience, that's going to help you a little bit more in terms of like creating more buy-in through your caption as well. So that would be what I would say here, but I do love the fact that you are showing the community painting. Mural looks great. Lines are really nice and clean, which is always nice to watch someone cut a clean line. Yeah, So let's see. I think I saw some people sending things here. Let's see. Oh, no. I know, Lorraine, if you wanted me to audit something. So, all right. I miss anyone in terms of Oh yeah, Jenna. Yes. Jenna's. Sorry, Jenna. Yeah, and I took notes on yours actually,
I
Jenna.
forgive you.
Okay. Let me pull up my notes because I think I took yours. Oh yeah, sorry, you're supposed to be after Laura. Okay, so I want to do this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Yeah, sorry if the music comes in and cuts out. So yeah, actually exactly what Ma said. The chopsticks paintbrush, I think, was a really fun part to the video that made like me laugh when I saw it. And I think that like humor goes just like those light little things of humor just go a long way to like make someone smile and like give them a reason to comment, right? So I really like that you did the humor there. um the music was I know the song and I don't know the song, but the music was like this trending audio if you guys couldn't hear it. And it actually went really well with the pacing of the video. So oh yeah, Bittersweet Symphony, yes, the remix. So Jenna, I really like the pacing of this and that you're actually kind of doing a visual story because you're kind of showing the process and you're varying your shots, which I also enjoy. Um, what I would say is here for Let's Paint um, Mobile Donegal on a 22-foot wall. I'm wondering if there's opportunity to make that hook a little bit more relatable to an audience by talking about like, let's tackle the like most technical wall I've ever painted, or like something like that, or even creating some sort of emotion where you're like nervous to create one of the most technical walls I've ever created. Because I know that for you, you were pushing your technical abilities on this wall. Like it was something that me and you were talking about actively, and like sharing that, right? Because artists will definitely relate to that where they're like, oh my gosh, like my first time painting whatever realism or something like that was crazy too, right? So I think this hook has opportunity to be a little bit more relatable and like just to create a little bit more emotional buy-in there. And just talking about that, right? Like talking about how technical this was for you. Because I saw right here of all the depth and details I navigated on this bad boy. I've got to say my favorite part is the little foamy wave detail. So like right here is I think an opportunity for you to just expand, right? Of like the level of depth and detail in here was like super intimidating for me. I learned that like in this project, like I need to charge more when I'm painting this way, right? Like stuff like that goes a long way, particularly for the artist audience that follows you, because they're going to be able to really relate to that. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, and I took notes of like coming to a close with like a full shot of the finished piece. That wasn't in here, right? Sorry, I muted.
I don't think I did.
Yeah, I think coming to a close with like the final piece would also just give someone opportunity to be like, like I see that some people say, "Oh, this looks like, oh yeah, Nova Color, great." Um, yeah, I see that people are engaging with this. I think it would create more opportunity for people to engage with it um, if you had shared the finished piece too. Like you would have got even more comments. But it looks like you had pretty decent engagement here, which is great. Um, yeah, just still pointing out opportunities. Always good to just point out, I think, as many opportunities as possible. Um, let's see. Did I miss anyone else? If not, I'm going to start tackling these. Going to go into Q&A. I have 30 minutes, and I gotta get off this. Nico wants me to review his Migos mural. Okay. Do one more.
Let's get it. How about for 16 passing ditch it deep? I know it's not a challenger.
Okie dokies.
Let's get it. How about for 16 passing ditch it deep? I know it's not a challenger. I get some members with me in the fridge. Keep go see. They some cannibals. They like to geek. Drink a whole bottle, wake up and repeat. Damn. She took a look, mixed it with the chill out. Now she say she seeing 3D. Wow. I go in the jungle and they gotta go. I bet I come out with a man. I bet I do this shit for the fam. Finish shit bigger than me. Color thought. Let's get it. How about for 16?
All right. So, one thing I like here, Nico, is the varied shots that your videographer got, and quality is great. So, couple things here. When you're shooting super high quality, people, it's almost strange because it's like people almost, it gets like more nitpicky. Like, so your videographer at certain points, okay, when he zooms out right here, okay, I'm gonna actually start it over. And this is super nitpicky stuff, but this is thing that I would relay to your videographer since you're paying him. Right there. When you zoom out, it gets shaky. And in an editing tool, I don't know if he's using CapCut or a different editing tool, you can throw in auto stabilization, so it will stabilize the video. If you guys are making any edits in CapCut or other editing tools, like you can stabilize the video in post-production. So rather than keeping your hands super still, which you still want to keep your hands as still as possible when you're getting clean shots, but you can throw in stabilization to make everything look just that much smoother. We do it for like all of our shots. So you can throw in stabilization. Let's see. Piece is beautiful. Very technical. I mean, we've already talked about this. Like I think the when you paint metal, Nico, like when like on his chain, I would really show that off because I think there's some parts of the piece that um there's some parts of this piece that just really shine. Like whenever you do like the glasses here, I think there's something that are really nice too. And yeah, the one thing I will say is there's a transition that he does that's the shaky transition. Let's see how many times does he use it? One, two. Yeah, he uses it twice. That's not too bad. I know he does it with the bass drop. A lot of us are starting paper mural. Okay, so Nico, you've been doing more of these process videos with your videographer. I think one area that we can kind of test is doing an A/B test on shorter, even shorter format than this versus this same timestamp. Because I know that you did this for the Snoop Dogg one too, right? I think it would be good to run a couple tests and see the time in which how long the video is and to see if there's more performance if the video is actually shorter going from the process to the finished product. Yeah, because your pieces are gorgeous. I'm wondering if there's opportunity for us to capture the audience's appreciation quicker and reshare it. I also think because you're using more, let's see, spray paint over black and white. I see that you're also doing a lot of education here with the airbrush, which is awesome. Love that a lot. What I would do is what might make your content easier to read in your caption is by breaking up, okay, like this. I like this, how you're breaking this up. I think if you break this up and then conclude with like, yeah, like smaller snippets here, it might be easier to look at because here on the on desktop, this is easy to read. But when we go into our phone, this is gonna feel like a lot. So a lot of ways that I'll break up my copywriting in my captions. This one's a extensive tip video. I guess I'm not really showing good examples of me copywriting here. Usually what I'll try to do is isolate some sentences. I think I'm going a little bit longer. So I usually like to isolate certain sentences a little bit more so it looks a little bit smaller. But if I go back, yeah, I think a biggest thing that I would test is the time. And yeah, if your videographer is editing this, tell him that in post production, if he could stabilize the clips, I think that's going to go a long way too. Because I can see a little bit of the shakiness. I could see a little bit of the shakiness, yeah, in his clips, but they're still clean. I mean, he's got a nice. I can tell he's using a nice camera. All right, let me get to some of these questions in the chat. I'm gonna go up, 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 up. Okay, let's start with Jenna. What are your thoughts on resharing the same content like these in a reel with those storytelling in a reel? I see so many people reshaping the same content. Cool. Yes, absolutely. Resharing content, like I repurpose our content all the time. Like I literally just take different clips and I tell different stories and I just use the same clips a bunch of times. And that's why it's so important for me when I'm on site to get so many angles. Like me and my brother are constantly taking like just getting a bunch of different angles of different things, a bunch of variations in our shots so we can repurpose them. You can also literally repost the same video that you posted. Like if it performed well and enough time has passed, you can just post the same exact thing, same exact caption. Like people talk about doing that all the time and saying that like, you know, the first time I did this, it got 200,000 views, but then the second time I did it, it got like a million views or whatever, right? Like you can repost something if it's good content. Um, yeah, you want to just be cognizant of the time in which you recycle something. Don't post the same thing, obviously, 3 days in a row. Um, I recently saw a very interesting carousel post telling a story with music and audio perfectly fitting with the text carousel. Oh, that's what you were sending me. I mean, yeah. So I've seen people do this too. It's like a lyric. It's kind of like a lyric video, but instead they do it through carousel. So there'd be music playing over, and it would literally just say the lyrics on the photo. And I've seen a bunch of people do this with like really cinematic shots, and that performs well. Another way to tell a story, you know. Let's see. With respect to Raven's mural, how could a hero framework work in this situation? So when we're using the hero framework and we're showing the process of something, we don't have to like speak about it. We could just write it in the caption, right? We could talk about the hardest parts of the mural. We could talk about the hardest parts of our own personal journey. So you can use the caption to tell whatever story you want, right? You could be like, I just finished this mural at whatever, Johnson Middle School. Like I remember closing my first school deal and how difficult it was. Like there were so many hoops I had to jump through. Like here are some of the hoops that you have to jump through when you work with a school or something like that, right? So you can kind of tell whatever story you want as long as you can relate it to the post. But yeah, let's see what other questions we got. Liz, using cinematic mode on the newer iPhone stabilizes automatically too. Looks super high end. Yes. So cinematic, honestly, any iPhone footage iPhone has a stabilizer in it. Like iPhone has a built-in stabilizer, but you guys just want to note that like if you film, you have to film through the actual camera app on your iPhone. If you're filming through a third-party app, the stabilizer won't work. So like if you're filming on Instagram story, for example, like I've seen people try to film like really nice smooth shots on Instagram story, the stabilizer doesn't work. It's only going to work if you use the camera app. So I always tell people if you're going to film something, film it in the camera app if you're using your phone because the stabilizer actually won't work if you're not in there. How do we write captions that inspire our audience and peers, but still are directed to our target audience versus solely building a basis of individuals like us or that want to be us? That inspire our audience and peers, but are still directly targeted to our customer. Okay, so writing captions that apply to your customers and just individuals that like you. So like friends or different community members. So I've kind of talked about this in a couple of the videos in our video library, but I've talked about just building on the human experience of emotions, right? Like every human experiences like different different emotions, so leaning into those emotional experiences can create connection for anyone, right? Like just common experiences that humans have. So if you guys have watched any of the videos about like where I show you guys some of my favorite creators, you'll see that a lot of those creators, their message is, of course, they kind of have their niche, right? But their message is built for a general audience. So this is something that I've learned from Brendan Kane. So if you guys aren't familiar with Brendan Kane, he's this guy. He's basically like a modern day virality scientist. Like he basically studies virality and teaches a bunch of people about like viral content. But Brendan Kane talks about using like having operating within a niche, but being able to take the message that you're sending and contextualize it to where it applies to anyone. It applies to the general audience. It has a higher likelihood of going viral because even if it hits people who aren't in your followers that aren't in your niche, if it feels like something anyone can relate to, then like it's the likelihood of it going viral is really big. So there's this one girl that I follow. Her name's Mylene. Her Instagram is Mylene's Mind. I guess I could share screen, but some of you guys might have seen me talk about her before. Some of you guys might follow her. Um, Her account has grown tremendously um, over the last like year or two. I think is how fast it it grew to like 500K. I think she didn't have that many followers before. And her one of her most viral pieces of content is telling my parents the truth and how to filter advice. Like who can't relate to a lot of this stuff, right? Like telling my parents the truth. How many of us have lied to our parents, right? Like how to filter advice, right? And the way she tells her stories are super emotional, and it just creates a higher likelihood of something going viral because they apply to literally everyone. It's a human experience that we all can relate to, right? But I don't know what products she sells. I think she sells to other creators, helping them grow their following and talking about content. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked through her whole funnel. But I just really respect the way that she creates content because it creates this thing that anyone can relate to. And it seems pretty simple for the most part. She has some edits that are a little nicer, but some she's just literally speaking to the camera, a few camera angles. Raven, I really like the shooting process videos. What do you feel is a sufficient amount of different shots and angles in one video to make it interesting? So it's not always about the amount, but how nice the shot actually is. So again, when we're thinking about where is the shadow casting, can you see my shadow as I'm taking the shot? Is the image flat or is there depth of field? One piece of content that I'll visit from the influential walls. We can probably show some of Trudy's content. Let's see. I just forget which is which now. Okay, this is one where the shots change too much. So, okay, I've referenced this in our video library, but I'm going to pull up the same video of the tiger mural that we've shot because we had a lot of nice shots and that one performed really well just for a basic process video. If I can get there, get us to the tiger. Don't think it's these ones. Let's see. So as you guys can see, I actually repost a lot of stuff all the time. I've used a lot of these murals multiple times. I think it was this one. Yeah, 10,000 views. Well, let's do one without text. This one. Okay, so depth. Okay, so look at the bar that passes above Christine's head right here. These are ways where you're gonna create a more three-dimensional space and real like experience, a more immersive experience when you're shooting content, is finding things in the foreground that will allow you to create more depth of field. Okay, so we do that there. A couple different shots. Again, we have things where we're creating depth, right? Different sorts of dynamics. This one, we're slowly panning up. Other ones, we're just focused on the hand. We have some rotating shots, right, from different angles. Now, obviously, you would need to have someone with you to get some of these angles, but it's not necessarily always about how many, it's about how interesting your shots are, right? Now, obviously, if you just have like two two shots in the video, it might not be enough, and it's probably going to be too short. So I would say, usually healthy amount is getting like 4 plus shots, right? And the more engaging your angles are, the more depth of field we're creating, and a little bit of variety. It's going to make the video a little easier to watch. What are your takes on successful text edits for the cover photo? So the algorithm, the way that social media is working now is when you appear on the explore page, text can go a long way, because if you're, say, making a reel and your text cover isn't just like a still shot of the reel, so for example, like we always change our reel covers, right? You guys have seen me do this here, where it's like me and I'm like pointing to text, or there's text somewhere. And we're actually starting to be a lot more cohesive. I'm going to probably always be posting like this, but for as far as using text on the explore page or when someone comes to your profile, like what is going to make something successful? One is the placement of the text, where you're not like placing it in the wrong place where there's like tension points, right? So if you guys came to the roasting your art webinar a while back, we talked about tension points and points where text touches someone's like ear and it looks weird, like the text is coming out of someone's ear, or like it touches their head awkwardly and like cuts things off. So you want to think about negative space when you're using text, right? So for us, I'm always thinking negative space whenever we get a photo. Like I'm sometimes I'll even talk to my brother and be like, if I need to place text on this image, I can't. So we got to move the frame, right? We got to adjust the photo to make sure that we can get text somewhere. What's going to make your text more successful is if you're creating anticipation, right? You're creating a level of mystery and also helping people solve problems. Again, solving more problems, right? The more problems we can solve, the more buy-in we're going to have, right? So if we can talk about different problems that people face and create that sort of buy-in, then hopefully it'll just have that much more performance on the explore page, right? So I'm always trying to think about like what sort of text do I have on the front of my real cover, so that way if someone was looking at this who's a complete stranger, am I doing them a service when they click on this? Are they going to learn something or be inspired by something, right? So I would say it's going to be keep in mind your placement and keep in mind your just what sort of problem or yeah, what sort of problem you're solving, and what sort of action you're looking for someone to take, or feeling you're looking for someone to take walking away from your video.
What about text variety? I noticed that person you just put us onto, Mylane's Mind or whatever, she really switches it up from frame to frame, and I just try to use the same one. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, so when you're using text variety, usually a best practice in design is to not use more than two font types. If you use more than two font types, it looks pretty messy. So you'll see that she kind of always uses this serif style font that has the hooks, and then she has the italicized font, right? And she sometimes will throw in this big like script style lettering at the front. But you'll notice that she stays pretty consistent with it. And this is something that I always pay attention to with influential walls, right? Is like when you guys see this text, you know that it's influential walls, right? Like you guys know that there's the line and the just clean white text. And I'm always pay attention to the spacing. even in my line spacing. My line spacing is consistent every single time. The two fonts I use is always consistent. I use this line a lot, right? So it just creates a more memorable visual brand for someone in your content. So being able to kind of stick to I would say two fonts, paying attention to things like your line and character spacing, um, go a long way. Yeah, and I love Mylene's way of doing it. She has some pieces where when she plays her, see, when she plays her videos, she always does this thing too, where at the top there's three different sections. She has a circle, and like she always has this kind of like grid in where she lays her stuff. And sometimes she breaks the rule a little bit, but again, it's all this is part of your visual branding, right? And like creating some things where it just when people come, they recognize. And if they don't come to your page and they see it in the Explorer or they see it swiping, then there's that immediate brand recognition of like, oh, I've seen this before, right? Like with influential walls, sometimes people see our content for the first time because I can see how many non-followers see our stuff. They won't follow us, and then people will follow us later because we've appeared so many times. And they're like, I've recognized this, I see this, it seems like I'm getting value every time I'm seeing this, right? So creating that just visual branding. What editing app do you think she's using or multiple? Guys, the editing apps are literally almost all the same. CapCut, DaVinci, Premiere, it just depends on how deep you're going into the editing game, like how much you're nerding out on it. I'm planning on putting a lot more videos in our video library of how I edit to show you guys the tips and tricks. We're doing a very long edit for YouTube for our first on-site episode. So I'm doing a new YouTube series called On-Site, where we're like on-site with the artists. We mic them up. We mic up some students. We mic up some mentees. If any mentees come on site, I mic up my brother. We're all talking about art business and just also just kind of having fun, being silly, but we're showing like elevated shots too. So I can show some edits while we're editing the on-site video, because there's going to be a tremendous amount of editing to make a long form piece of content like that. But the reality is with CapCut, DaVinci, Premiere, there's other ones on the market. They all have the same functionality. You just kind of have to know where things are. It's like the difference between Photoshop and Procreate. And it's not like I don't know enough about Procreate to say this confidently. I always thought that the Adobe softwares had a lot more power to them, but I've also seen some artists go into Procreate and create some crazy things. So like the idea behind what editing software that you use, I would say like take a look at a couple of them and you can kind of feel out which one is going to be easiest. Now, to be honest, from what I've experienced, because I've looked through multiple of them, CapCut is like super easy to use. And CapCut on the desktop is like, I love it. Like I just got back from from my content trip, and they were editing in Premiere, and I watched one of them edit in DaVinci, and I was showing them some of the things in CapCut because I was like, you actually have all these functionalities in CapCut. And they're like, honestly, whichever one makes your workflow the fastest, I would just use it. So yeah. Oh, and speaking of, Jenna, would anyone be down to do a content challenge? I need accountability. Caleb left. Me and Caleb are actually going to do a webinar in March, and it's going to be about goal setting. And what we're going to do in the goal setting webinar is we're going to pair up people with accountability partners. So you kind of have a little bit more of one community, and you're just like connected to someone in the program, and you guys will just be like literally meeting like once a week and just being like, yo, what are you up to? But I do want to set up something where we build the community, just those relationships deeper, and we have accountability partners. It's just more fun that way, and we can talk about our findings with someone and help each other grow. So on that note of like the challenges, we are going to start setting up accountability partners for anyone that wants an accountability partner. I think it's key. You guys all basically see me as your accountability partner, right? But you know, if depending on how far out our sessions are, like it's harder for me to be accountable for you week by week. And we have so many people in the program now that it's just like pair up, make some friends, figure out an opportunity for you guys to also collaborate because doing collaborating, like collabing on like a wall is epic. If you guys have ever done it, or if you've worked with someone where you actually come up with the ideas together, or maybe there's a two-wall project and you guys both paint a wall with like cohesive colors, like stuff's epic, guys. This is literally what I do like all the time in influential walls is like coordinate projects and put artists together, and it's always a blast. So we'll be doing that in our webinar in March, giving you guys accountability partners. Yeah, I think I have time for like one or two more questions because I'm gonna have to go in the next 5 minutes here. Anyone else have any concluding questions that I can answer? We all good?
How do you feel today?
How do I feel today? I feel great. Every time I get on these webinars, my heart races at the beginning. So I'm like, oh my gosh, don't mess this up. There's all these people. Like, it feels weird like talking to like a bigger audience instead of doing my one-on-ones with you guys. But yeah, it's but once I'm in, I'm energized. And I love seeing all of you guys. I love seeing all your guys' faces in one place. So I'm feeling good. How are you guys feeling?
Good.
Yeah? Good.
Yeah, really,
Inspired.
yeah. I feel like jazzed up. I want to make shit happen.
Let's go. Do you guys feel as if you guys learned some new things in today's webinar about content, storytelling, metrics, frameworks?
The critiques really helped, and it was cool to see how other people are doing it. That was really helpful.
Yeah. We're going to start bringing in, I think, literally every group call. I'm just going to start doing some form of critiques because I think it's the most helpful when people see things just being completely torn apart that are even different from them. So that way it's like less questions of if you change something, what you're going to change to. So I'm going to try to do that more often.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really nice to be able to be like, how does this apply?
Right.
Instead of just, that's where I get stumped.
Yeah. It's good to see you, Liz. I haven't connected with you in a long time. I know we kind of like texted. You're someone I haven't talked to in a hot minute.
Oh my gosh, I know.
I was like, are you good?
I know my husband had surgery, so I've been helping a lot with that, and that's kind of put everything on hold.
I hope he's okay.